and welcome to the MPC University. The MPC Renaissance is equally at home on stage as it is in the studio. The Renaissance offers some great functionality to enhance your live performance. In this video, we're going to cover a few of those concepts. So let's get started with track muting. So to demonstrate this, I've loaded up one of the house sequences that comes along with the massive Renaissance library. First of all, we can mute from the main page. We can simply press mute per track, use our arrow keys to move over, and mute the next track. We can hit track plus or track minus to move. We can also solo from this page. To get more in depth, we can hit the track mute button. From here, we can mute individual tracks. We can also do track groups, which will allow us to set up groups so that when one track is hit, the other tracks mute. We also have the ability to mute based on time division. If I hit the time correct button, and I define what my time will be by the time division, my mutes will now reflect for the bar. I can also hold down solo and select a track. It will stay soloed until I hit the solo button again. All of these functions can be repeated per pad. I can hold shift and hit track mute, and now I can access the pads for that specific program. And again, I can set up pad groups, so that when one pad is hit, the other pad's cut off. I also retain my time code and time division in my trackpad. And last but not least, I can also record and automate all of these track mutes by pressing the overdub button. And that's track muting. So let's check out the step sequencer on the MPC Renaissance. Step sequencing is an old school alternative method to programming beats. And along with the backlit pads of the MPC Renaissance, it becomes very interactive and very simple to set up. The first thing we want to do is select the sound. Whatever the last sound that I hit will be the sound that I program on the step sequencer. When I hit step sequencer and I check out the time code, now I see that my grid will be based upon 1/16. I can close this, and when I press play, I see the lights moving. This shows me exactly where I am on the grid. I can then start programming. It's that simple. I can come back out of step sequencer, select another sound, and then start programming again. I can repeat this function for as many sounds as I want. I can also hit the pad softly and the velocity will be represented. I can increase the number of bars. And when I go back into step sequence, I can view which bar I'm on by bar plus or minus. But for the simplicity, I'll take it back to one bar. I can select another sound. And continue this process to add more sounds. I can also affect the swing by moving the time correction. Step sequencing is a fun and intuitive way of creating beats. So now let's talk about the cue links. Cue links are a great way to adjust and automate the parameters of your MPC programs and effects. They can be set up from the computer or from the hardware itself. You have 16 cue links to choose from, which can be assigned to any of your parameters. Let's start by selecting a cue link. By touching cue links, we can show which ones we're on. We can select cue link 1. We can select which pad we want to affect. For right now, let's affect pad 15. We can choose which parameter we want to affect. For right now, let's choose tuning. And we can select how that effect is used by the cue link. It can be in note on, which means that when I turn, I have to be hitting the pad. If I choose real time, I can hit the pad once and still affect the parameter. I can just as easy set up a cue link from the hardware. If I hit Shift and Program Edit, that will get me into the cue link mode. If I select cue link number 2 and I hit Edit, I can do the same setup. I can select how I want it to change, which pad I want it to change. Let's go to 15, or I can simply press the pad. I want to change this note on to continuous. And let's choose a different parameter. Let's choose filter cutoff. So now, when I hit this pad, it affects the filter. And again, all of these parameters can be automated from the main page. I can also use the cue links for my effects. If I set up an effect by going to pad 15, choosing an effect. Now when I go back to my cue link effect, I can select it, choose which parameter, and now my cue link affects the rate. Cue links are a great way to add real-time control to all of your effects. Another great feature of the MPC Renaissance that I've fallen in love with is the next sequence function. What this does is allow you to choose different sequences on the fly and control how they're played to the audience during a live performance. If I hit the next sequence button, as you'll see, all of my sequences, 1 through 5, have been lit up. The green one shows me which one will play. I press play, this sequence starts. As you see, I can select another sequence, and at the end of this 4 bars, it will switch to this sequence, like so. I can continue to select more sequences, and it will continue to move. If I don't want to wait for the full 4 bars, I can select a sequence and hit next bar. Now it jumped to the first sequence. If I don't want to wait till the next bar, I can select the next sequence and hit sudden. Automatically jumps to the beginning of that bar. If I select another sequence, but I don't want it to go, I can press hold. It will stay in the sequence that I have until I decide to let the hold button go. Now, if I select a sequence and I don't want it to go there, I can press clear and it will deselect that sequence. Now as I start my sequence, you'll notice that everything will be recorded on a timeline. As I move around, all of my movements will be reflected on the screen. I can press to song, press do it, and now all of my movements have become one song sequence. So let's discuss our song mode. The song mode is where we organize all of our sequences into one continuous song. If we look here on the screen, we have all of our available sequences represented on each pad. I can take from this pad and drag into this section to organize all of my sequences into one song. I can drag here, or I can actually drag into the visual representation at the top of the screen. I can replace a sequence, or I can insert in between sequences. I can insert in between sequences in this section. If we look over here, I can name my song. I can choose from the 32 available songs. I can convert this whole song into a sequence, or I can clear my whole sequence. I can insert or delete steps, and I can have all of the information about each step represented here. This will tell me how many bars, when it repeats, and the tempo. I can also insert and delete on the hardware. I can convert my sequence as well on the hardware and clear. And that covers performance mode. Thanks for joining us at MPC University, and make sure to stay on akaipro.com for all the latest updates.